Bienvenidos, muchas gracias por venir. Y muchas gracias. Después de 2 años y algunos meses regresamos a revivir las juntas que tenemos de la Asociación de Vecinos de Madison Park. Vamos a tener una breve reseña de lo que ha sido la Asociación de Vecinos por mucho tiempo. Mi nombre es Adolfo Sierra, yo he estado participando por los últimos 24 años aproximadamente, residente por los últimos 28 años aquí, trabajo también muy cerca y les doy la bienvenida a todos. Ya escuchó, tenemos aquí a la policía, está las representantes de Minh. Tenemos vecinos de las asociaciones aquí cercanas, también de Voucher Square, y residentes que han estado participando por muchos años con la asociación y algunos de ustedes los conocen. Tenemos representantes también, vinieron a profesores de UCI, bienvenidos. Y tenemos también nuestro representante de aquí de la ciudad, el concejal. Y quiero también agradecer, antes de que sigamos con esto, a Margarita y a Frank de la ciudad. Ellos nos han estado apoyando también en esta última semana. Casi hemos estado trabajando muy rápido para poner esto junto. Y con esto quiero darle la palabra a José para que pueda empezar. Yo voy a estar hablando también de esto. So I want to give the podium to Jose so he can tell us about MPNA history.
Okay. It's just a small group and I think that it should translate for them over there. So.
Okay.
I don't think it's okay.
Fernando, ¿necesitas traducción o estás bien?
¿Está bien?
¿Necesitas traducción?
Okay. También quiero agradecerle ahorita, nos acaba de llegar la directora Salmón. Ella ha estado trabajando también con Madison Park por mucho tiempo. Thank you. This is the principal from Madison Elementary, and thank you. And I'm gonna, yeah.
Estamos trabajando en otro programa de uniformes para los niños y tuve que empezar allá. Para acá, perdón.
Gracias por darnos la oportunidad de estar aquí en la escuela. I want to thank her because she's been very instrumental in allowing us to utilize the school for the programs, and also for now that we're going to start the neighborhood association meetings again. And again, Jose?
Yep.
You want to?
Yeah. So hello everybody. Like Adolfo said, I'm Jose, and I've been acting treasurer for some time, for the last 2.5 years or so. But like Adolfo and I met here in this room maybe 23 years ago in a general meeting for the Madison Park Neighborhood Association. That's when the first time that we crossed paths. And the collaboration, the support with the school actually goes back to before Adolfo and I were residents of the area. The record that we have is from 1987, the first time that the neighbors collaborated with the school to get that traffic light right here on Hobart and Standard. And because it was high risk crossing for the kids coming from the apartments into the school. So they advocated for the installment of that traffic light with the city. And that's the first record that we have of the school working with the surrounding community. Fast forward, it was, we started doing activities that benefit the common well-being. One thing that we did back in 2003 was the first walkathon, community resource fair, cultural festival at the park. And then we did that until 2019, when October 5th of 2019 was our last one. And now we form a subcommittee. I think Jenny and Leonel, and which they're both residents of the area, but also they are staff for the Green program, and I'll explain the connection between MPNA and Green in a minute. And they are with Adolfo. They're organizing the next walkathon, and tentatively we're able to put it together because the rules by the city have changed tremendously. There are a lot more requirements, and it seems like it's going to cost a lot more money. So, but I think we can pull together and be able to bring that event, which is important to our community, back. And we're looking at October 15 of 2022, our tentative date. It's at Madison Park. And basically the idea was to show the community that we do have a park and that we do have a bike trail and that we need to use it. And we work on it, and it's been one of our successes because it's the bike trail was a dump. It was mattresses and homeless and graffiti, and we were able to clean it. And you know, even though we get a little credit for it, but we really worked for many years and you know, new trees and cleaning planting the ivy on the walls and all that. And now it gets a tremendous use. You know, the latest thing we went up to the city council and the city staff for the new lights. And now we have lights and it looks beautiful. And you get people walking at any time of the day or night almost. And so that's one of the big successes. The other reason why we decided to do the community walkathon or source fair is to promote the use of the open space, but also to rescue the park back to the families. We haven't been that successful in that respect. You know, we installed the first camera in a city park, but I think like nobody takes a look at the camera. They don't know what's going on there. But it's we do have an alarm and a camera that I don't know what the purpose of it, but it is there. And the park looks a lot better. We worked with the former director of Parks and Rec and installing the community garden and getting a new basketball court and all of that, and also brings a lot more youth to use the park. But we still got work to do there at the park. So taking you back to let's see, 2009, when the California Endowment announced that the Santana was going to be one of the 14 sites where they're going to be heavily investing to develop the Building Healthy Communities initiative. All of us, Ramona and Chela and others, Chava and Adolfo, we went to the Breakfast of Champions, where everybody that is who's who in Orange County was there to listen to Bob Ross, the CEO of the California Endowment, to make the announcement. And we were the only tables of residents. And so we asked, is there going to be room for the residents? Oh, yes, you guys are going to lead the charge. And we literally took that to heart and say, yeah, we're going to lead the charge in terms of the residents. It took us a while to get to that point, but we did work on the planning session of the California Endowment. And we thought that all these nonprofits that were going to participate, they want to come and work with us because we were organized. We were doing things in the community, but nobody did. And so what we ended up doing is that we, in order for us to tap on those resources, we technically became a nonprofit. And the endowment has given us some seed money through UCI, a grad student of urban and regional planning, master's student, help us to write the original grant. And then they gave us a larger grant, but they said, hey, you're a new nonprofit, you have no experience, we're not going to give you $100,000 if you have no experience running a grant. So they asked us to become a subsidized, not subsidized, a sponsored project of charitable ventures. So we ended up in a really strange situation because charitable ventures is a 501c3, and we're a 501c3 being a sponsor by another 501c3, which I don't think is legal, but that was the situation, and we just went with it. Now we have a new sponsor, is 10C, which used to be the Volunteer Center of Orange County, and for the last 2 years we've been under 10C. We have grown tremendously in terms of funding programs, but at the same time that we growing tremendously with the green programs, we also took the attention and the work that was being done under Madison Park Neighborhood Association. Case in point, when was the last time we had the police come and talk to us about crime prevention programs, that sort of thing? We haven't done it in quite some time. Needless to say that the partnership that started with Madison Elementary back in 1987 is stronger than ever, to the point that through the California Endowment, we basically open up the school as a community center, a safe space after school programs. And we were here Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then on Saturdays, running different type of programs here at the school until March 12th of 2020. And Ms. Solomon said, we're going to be closing the school because of COVID, but it's going to reopen after spring break. She didn't say which spring break. We were thinking, 3, 4 weeks later. It didn't happen. Yeah.
And of all the programs that, I live in a different neighborhood here in Santana, but I have to tell you, this is the neighborhood that provides the most programs for our kids. From Saturday Science Academy, where teachers can train our kids on science concepts, to Zumba for moms, to ballet folklorico, to soccer and sports programs. And then to top it off, after we closed the school, it was like, here comes April, and Jose calls and says, okay, what are we going to get information out about COVID to the community? And then since that April, since we shut down, we had COVID calls. Once we were able to get vaccines, COVID vaccine clinics, and it's been because of the work of the Neighborhood Association and the school and the district coming together that we've really been able to make this happen for our community and make sure that vaccines are here on site, close, where you just have to cross the street. You don't have to take 10 buses to get to Disneyland to try to get a vaccine. It's here in your neighborhood. So what our neighborhood association does is far above and beyond what I've seen lots of people do, but it is about taking care of our community and making life better for people that live here in our community. And I can see that they have truly done it. From me having kids here, not my own kids, but students who are already practicing to be doctors. Like, it's just incredible what we're doing to inspire our little world and kind of the outside world too, to go on and do greater things for their futures and to really come back and then take care of our community here. So I just want to say thank you, Jose, because it's the work of everybody.
Well, yeah,
you guys started a long time ago.
Thank you, collaboration team. I would say it's like I'm often the loud mouth, but it's actually a lot of people working together. And needless to say, that includes the teachers, the neighbors, and the community leaders, and our partners, including the university. But yes, in fact, we had 23 or 24 COVID-19 town halls, and we started that infamous spring break that Ms. Solomon said that we're going to open up back in 2020. That was when we held our first town hall regarding COVID, because we knew that the information that was running around like wildfires in the community was not accurate. It was not accurate, and there was no information coming from the official sources. So we felt that we needed to facilitate and create that bridge, because it was not happening. And then more recently, I think probably had like about 10 or 12 clinics. I don't count them, but here in this space, but also in the parking lot. And so, yeah, so that's basically a little bit of the background, but it's, you know, Ramona has been a president, Adolfo has been a president, yeah, Richard has been a president. Leonel received our first scholarship, a whole $100 when he graduated from Godinez High School and went to UCLA. He was a recipient of our first scholarship. Jenny was Jenny, you know, she with her sister and mom participated on the leadership, President Leadership Training Institute that was created when the California Endowment gave us our first grant back in 2012. So it's all, you know, creating capacity within the community and also bringing resources. So that's basically a little bit of my background. Website is impinag.org. It's gonna point people in that direction. You can reach us through this, but I just want to point you out to our.
We have a new webpage. So
Yeah, we created a new website.
And pass the word out to your friends, to new blog. We need new blog here as well. So we're going to be reaching to the youth, and we need your help. So anybody that is here present, pass the word out.
So this is our website. You know, we talk a little bit about what is the connection with the MPNA, but we try to make the distinctions because we're not taking care of the MPNA business, basically the concerns of the residents regarding traffic, regarding crime, regarding some of the other issues. We're basically doing a couple of things, youth initiatives that Solomon pointed out to, which is basically a science academy that starts at 4th grade and connects all the way to the 12th grade, and then brings the undergraduate students from UCI and UCLA, med students from UCI, faculty. So it's a pipeline all the way through. We'll also do health equity. She talk about Zumba, but also we're talking about COVID-19 and also health talks. We're creating one that is called Una Hora con la Doctora. We have Dr. Sara Lopez that comes once a month and talks about what the parents, the topic that the parents participated. Pablo, you participated in the diabetes program with, you know, that Dr. Chaveri and Dr. Solis run. And then, you know, safe and clean environments, and basically safe and clean environments prior to 2017 was basically embellishing, but also making safe the bike trails in the parks. And that was our emphasis until 2017, when the AQMD sent I guess a notice to the community saying that Brass Tech, a metal plating company, was moving into the neighborhood, and that they had 20 days to respond if they had any concerns. And it was all in English, and people were trying to figure out, you know, what is this all about? And then that was the door for environmental justice that we are now fully engaged and fully involved in so many ways that Leonel is going to be talking about. And then also that have brought us like different grants and different collaboration, including you know, the social scientists that are here from UC Irvine. But that's basically, and we do this through community engagement. So we felt that it was important for us to come back to general meetings to start addressing some of the issues that we're not addressing under the getting residents engaged in empowering neighborhood green programs, which are I guess, a derivative of MPNA, but is not doing the work that MPNA needs to continue. So that's why we needed to bring back these meetings so people have a chance to bring up all those concerns and issues with public works and everybody else, code enforcement, all the stuff that's being done right now.
Well, I was gonna say to add that that MPNA is in a nonprofit team that works with Green Wisconsin project.
So Green is a sponsored project of under 1OC, and currently we're dismantling the nonprofit of the MPNA because it was just dormant. There was no activity, there was nothing happening, and since everything is being handled through 1OC.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Any questions? Preguntas?
Preguntas, ¿alguien tiene comentarios? Any questions or comments? No one? Okay. All right, we're gonna move on. I just wanna, because UCI has been, like I said, instrumental on everything that has been happening since Jose joined the Neighborhood Association 23 years ago. And I wanna introduce them. If you please introduce yourselves, let us know where you come in and just give us a brief about yourselves and how you've been involved with Green and MPNA.
I'm Mike Fortune.
And we are married.
Not brother and sister.
But we also office next to each other at the university at TAB. So we have a full career in every way. And we are social scientists, which means that we don't study the air quality or the lead levels in kids' blood, but the social life of people, the political system, different scales of governance, and how that contributes to the health and well-being of people at the community level. Our focus is on the way environmental hazards harm communities, the way communities can mobilize to improve their environmental conditions. We just moved to California 5 years ago. And so we're just learning about your communities. We often learn through our students because they're from California. And it's been a real honor to work with MPNA because they are so knowledgeable and grounded in this community. And so when we ask the question, how can university research be a resource to these communities? What can we learn from the communities? How can we work together? I mean, we really could not ask for a better partner.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah. ¿Hay alguien atrás? ¿Necesita traducción usted atrás? ¿En español o? Okay. Ya, okay, estamos hablando acerca de la historia de la Asociación de Vecinos. Algunos de ustedes ya conocían el trabajo que ha estado haciendo la asociación por muchos años. Con el walkathon, con la feria comunitaria, se ha estado trabajando también con el programa de Green, que es una parte que está siendo patrocinada por unos grants, dinero que ha estado entrando a la comunidad. Es un dinero que ha creado programas, que ha creado mucho trabajo para algunas personas aquí en la comunidad ya por varios años. Y también ha estado apoyando mucho a que los jóvenes de la escuela puedan estar viéndose ellos el día de mañana yendo a la universidad. Una de las ideas es de que vayan a UCI, para la Escuela de Medicina. Hay programas de mentoría para los jóvenes y eso es lo que ha estado hablando José. Es una colaboración y tenemos también, no mencionó, pero tenemos una colaboración con 5 diferentes escuelas de la Universidad de California en Irvine. Son 5 escuelas. Una de ellas es la Escuela de Justicia Ambiental, Environmental Law Clinic. Ellos también han estado trabajando mucho con nosotros. Y uno de ellos es los de Air UCI, que está estudiando los problemas del aire aquí en la comunidad. Así que si pueden involucrarse y invitar a más personas en el futuro para que vengan a las juntas, por favor háganlo. Para continuar, porque también tenemos tiempo medido y tenemos más invitados por aquí.
Tengo una pregunta. Actualmente se están enfocando mucho en lo de la justicia ambiental. ¿Están involucrando a los niños de la escuela en este proyecto también?
Sí, está preguntando, Ms. Ramona is asking about if we are getting the children involved with the environmental justice programs, and yes, the answer is yes. I don't want to go talk about it because we have the experts here. We have our expert, Leonel Flores. He's going to talk about it later on. And also Jenny, that she's involved in this recently, but she's also very experienced with the community as well. To continue, I want to introduce, now that I mentioned Jenny, Jenny's going to pass some surveys for the residents. And this is about why you want to see, or what kind of programs or what kind of issues you want to bring up in the future, so we can have data that we can work with for future meetings. Okay, so Jenny, can you introduce yourself a little bit?
Do you have a question? I think getting the kids involved, especially for the school too, like would be a really good idea. Because I mean, it's great that there's a lot of street vendors and stuff like that, but the kids, they walk to school all the time, just throw the trash right on the ground, don't even care.
Yeah.
I think getting the kids involved will probably be the best thing possible.
Yeah. Okay.
So about the survey, there's an English and Spanish version. Si me pueden funcionar en español, por favor, hasta su mano.
Yeah.
Sobre las preocupaciones del vecindario.
So we're gonna ask if you are a resident or you work in the neighborhood, please fill out one. If you're not a resident of Santana and you don't live in the neighborhood or you don't work in the neighborhood, do not fill one, right? Because it's pretty specific. We're just trying to find out what other topics are important to bring to this conversation here in the general meetings. So if you work in Santana or in the neighborhood and you live or work in the neighborhood, please fill one out and let us know, what is it that we want to bring back to the next meetings.
Okay. We can start now. Okay, we're a little rusted for 2 years and some months, so bear with us. Be patient. Nuestro próximo invitado es el director ejecutivo de Planning and Building, el señor Minh. Our next speaker for the night, it's the executive director for Planning and Building, Mr. Minh, and he's going to be talking about the Santa Ana General Plan on environmental justice, what kind of advantages they have right now, and we asking for any updates. If you have questions, hold to them at the end of his presentation, and then we can discuss that. Ahorita va a estar hablando el señor Minh de la ciudad, acerca del plan general de la ciudad, en lo que concierne a cualquier avance que haya de justicia ambiental.
Okay, then you're on.
Okay.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. And Adolfo, thank you, Linnell and Jose. Thank you for inviting me to join your meeting tonight. I really appreciate it. And it's a great honor to be here with you as well as the Neighborhood Association to talk and give you updates about the general plan and what we have been doing since its approval. So to give everyone a little bit background, essentially what a general plan is, it is a document that is required by the state of California for every city. And it is a document that essentially outlined the goal and desire of the community and establishes policies, objectives, and identify how implementation action on how to get the vision of the community complete. The city of Santa Ana back in 2015 engaged in the process of updating its general plan the first time in almost 4 decades. And with the process of updating the general plan, there was a very extensive process of public engagement because the document has not been updated for so many years. It was a major focus of the city and the city leadership to ensure that we hear the value of our community as relates to quality of life, as it relates to housing, as it relates to the environment. And so we did a significant amount of engagement. Over the past 2 years, we have been working extensively with the leadership of neighborhood, with Adolfo, with Linnell, and Jose, to represent some of the very issues that you are facing in your community so that it could be heard by the city, by our city leadership, and has been instrumental in getting many of these issues to be recognized and policies and actions adopted in the general plan to address those issues. Our city council back in April of this year adopted the general plan after 7 years of extensive engagement with our community. In fact, we spent a significant amount of time, as I mentioned, over the last 2 years to engage the community specifically on environmental justice issues that were raised by our community. And I don't know, I thought I heard Council Member Penalosa was in the audience, but I just want to give a shout out to you, Council Member. And also, he was very instrumental in making sure that even though during COVID that we engage our community, your community, and it was something that he asked of staff to do, is to ensure that no matter what happens, that we need to do at least one meeting in person. So, we made it happen, and that happened last August. And so I want to thank you, Council Member, for pushing that and pushing staff so that we can continue to engage our community. The adoption of the general plan is monumental. I would want to say, I would dare to say that, we are not only one of the first, but probably the only city to have adopted a document that is so extensive. Over 25% of the policies and implementation actions in the general plan are dedicated solely to environmental justice issues, addressing environmental justice concern in relating to the environment, relating to education, relating to economic, relating to housing, relating to open space. So the council has made a priority ensuring that eliminating and preventing hazard in our community and ensuring social equity in our built environment as a high priority for our city and for our staff. And while the document was only adopted in May, we have started to significantly implement some of the first fundamental steps towards implementing the general plan and its policy relating to environmental justice. Just to give you a little bit understanding of how we approach this issue, and I want the community to understand that some of these issues, and if not all of these issues, didn't just form overnight. They form over many years of environmental practices and policy that did not recognize the intended or unintended consequence on the environment. And so, fixing these issues are not going to be easy. It's not going to be fast, but we have a plan put into place that has been approved by our city council, that has been supported by our city council, like our council member there, Councilman Penalosa. And, you know, this is what it takes for us to be able to move these issues forward for our community. So the construct of the way that we will address the environmental justice issue here in the city is that the first step is to have a dedicated function in our city to do that. And so as part of this process, we have formed our first ever environmental justice section of the planning division to lead this process. And as part of that process, we are in the process of completing our recruitment for a person in a supervisory capacity to lead and to help us begin to organize the various policies and implementation action of the general plan, and working with our city council and our community to start prioritizing implementation. And, you know, as I mentioned this during our outreach in the past, that is the first step. It is to recognize that we need to have, as a city, be the champion and have someone leading us as a city to champion these issues. And so therefore, that is the first step, and that first step had begun. And, you know, we not only form the specific function in our recruiting for the position, the city council approved a budget for us to ensure that that position get filled and that we get the adequate resources so that we can start to basically initiate the environmental justice implementation process. The city will also be serving not only as a champion, but also a repository of information. We will be the central location where hopefully our residents can go to for information about issues relating to environmental justice, going to us to be able to share with issues and concerns that you have in the environment in your neighborhood. And we do that also through continuing engagement like being invited here tonight. We welcome these opportunities and we will continue to engage our community. Our goal is to not only to help resolve physical issues in the environment, but also to educate our community, our residents, our young children by working with the school district, working with neighborhood association to hopefully educate, empower you with information so that you will be able to also make a decision on how to improve the quality of life, how to make adjustment so that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. And it is what I call the continuous process of improvements. In terms of additional milestones that we have been able to achieve in the short past couple months, we have been not only, as I mentioned, create a dedicated planning section, recruiting of the staff, but we have also issued a, I don't want to use planning term, but basically we are requesting for professional assistance that the city will be paying for to update our zoning code to address many of the land use issues that you as a community, you as a neighborhood face in environmental justice area. Earlier, I believe it was either Jose or Adolfo mentioning, you know, how the environmental justice process got initiated with Brass Tech. And if I only knew today that Brass Tech was the catalyst for all of this work, you know, and if I had been there, I would probably try my hardest to prevent them from being there. So I get you and I hear you. And I think, you know, it is one issue that hopefully our zoning code will help to begin to address for us to make better decision in the future so that Brass Tech, while it's a great company, while it produces job, but you know, the questions can have to be asked is, was it located in the right place? And the answer obviously is that, you know, it's not optimal to have those type of businesses with their activities to be located so close to residential It's not that they're a bad business, it's that it's the wrong use to be at that location so close to residents. So we as a city needs to do a better job of determining the appropriate location for different activities to take place. And that's what updating the zoning code will help us do, is to make those decisions for the future. Updating the zoning code will also help us to also hopefully correct some of the mistakes of the past by implementing regulations that will help us to hopefully encourage the relocation of some of these activities to place, or creating buffers that will help to separate some of the impacts when residents' uses are so close together. So we'll be engaging in that, and we just have begun the process of looking for help from the professional consulting community to do that. Now, all of that takes quite a bit of money. And again, I want to thank our council and Councilmember Penaloza for supporting this, is that they approve a budget of $1.5 million for us to be able to do this work. All this work will be done in complete transparency with the community. We'll be reaching out to the community for input. We'll be working with the leadership of the association and various neighborhood associations to do that. So that is not going to happen overnight, but it is a huge beginning step for us. So again, thank you, the council. Thank you, Member Penaloza, for approving that budget. It is a big step in us beginning to fix this problem. Another major step towards implementing and the vision of environmental justice is in the housing area. This past meeting in July, the city council approved, staff drafted the housing element that we need to submit to the State Department of Housing Community Development to fulfill housing requirements as allocated from the state. The housing element is one that will provide provide the regulatory environment for us to be able to hopefully create attainable housing for our residents at all income levels. And that has been a major issue, not only faced by our community, but California and nationwide, as you hear in the news about, the cost of housing, the lack of housing. And our council has been pushing very much so, ensuring that our housing that we produce, our housing that is going to house residents here living now in the city. So that was a major significant step that we also took in moving the goal and the needle forward on environmental justice. And finally, in terms of what we're doing, while we weren't anticipating doing this so soon, but the opportunity came up as such that we said, no, it's too good for us not to, or to pass it by. We saw that HUD had a request for a grant proposal addressing lead, and lead in the environment, I don't know if you know, is a major issue that were brought up by our community, by the leadership of your neighborhood association and by our council, and such as Councilmember Penaloza, in making sure that we address this issue in our community. So we submitted an application to HUD for a grant for us to study the existence, the level of lead contamination in our environment, the sources, and from our perspective, to know the baseline information is the first step for us towards understanding to what extent, to what level, and where lead is in our environment, so that we can begin to develop strategies on addressing that. And UCI and OCEJ and Madison Park Association were all very instrumental in pushing for the studies that kind of be the catalyst for this. And those studies done by UCI, while they'll be very helpful for us, we as a city, as I mentioned before, during our outreach and engagement process, need our own information on the extent of lead in our built environment so that we can use that information to be able to make decision in the future. So I know that was a lot of information to digest regarding the environmental justice and our current status. Councilmember Penalosa, I don't know if you have anything else to add to this, but with that, I can be available for any questions as well. Council member, I don't mean to put you on the spot.
No, you're okay, man. No, I'm fine. You did
Okay.
great.
Great. So then with that, I'll be happy to answer any question. Hopefully you're able to hear me clearly, and hopefully I have given you information that is helpful and up to, and have brought you up to date on the city status and where we are.
If you do have a question, we just ask that you get closer because the microphone is up here.
Can we just translate really quick, like make a little summary in español?
We've been translating.
Oh, you do? Okay. Oh.
So,
Okay.
but if anyone else needs translation,
Chava,
that's what I need.
Chava y Mari, si quieren, en la mesa de atrás están traduciendo al mismo tiempo para que puedan entender todo. So, si quieren para que
And the one question I had was, you
Gracias,
said
Mari.
1.5 million was being dedicated to something and I missed it. So I wasn't able to translate.
$1.5 million was being dedicated for us to update the city's zoning code.
Okay. And that means what?
I was about to say, the zoning code is land use regulations that basically establishes the development standards, the land use guidelines for development in the city, how land is used, and how we regulate the different land uses in our city in different zones.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I just wanted to translate that for everyone. Sorry.
Any questions? Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't see you.
Okay, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Thank you for that presentation. My name is Kim Fortune, and I'm a UCI researcher that collaborates with UPNA. And I appreciate your explanation. It was very helpful. And just thank you for taking the initiative to set that on environmental justice. It's so important. A question that I have that I've been asked by my students and by people in the community is what authority does the city have to act on permitted facilities in the city? Like they're permitted to pollute. And I think the city issues business licenses, but what role can the city play in regulating the polluting operations that are in the city now?
I will tell you what role we currently play, and with the environmental justice lens, what role we potentially can play. So today we are a land use policy, land use authority agency. Essentially, businesses like that are deemed to be appropriate in different zone, all they have to do is come to the city, request for a business license, and if they are allowable in a certain zone, then they would be issued a license. Certain level of uses could require what's called a public hearing process through a discretionary review, meaning that that category of business is just not automatically approved by right. And so those are some of the uses that we would then also have decision over through a discretionary process. So that's how we play that role today. We don't get into the regulation of environmental issues such as chemical that these business uses, such as how they discharge their and address the waste that they produce. But that's today. And other agencies such as DTSC, such as LA County Fire Department, such as Air Quality Control District, the SCAQMD, they're the agency that are authorized to address those type of issues because those are their areas of authority. And we as a city, through our environmental justice lens, have looked at ourselves as a different role than from the traditional land use regulatory body. We are, for one thing, are going to be the champion for our community in representing our community on various environmental issues in front of these agencies, so that they understand that we are front and center, we're paying attention, and that we will, ensure that the kind of businesses that require their authority and oversight needs to be reviewed by our community. And that's where the zoning code comes in. We can put in new regulation that essentially says, and I'm just giving you an example right now. By no means this is, going to be something that is, well, it will have to be considered in the future as we go through the update. But we could put language that says any businesses that requires permitting from for air emission, for discharge of certain type of wastewater, for importing and transporting of certain chemical, that we can either not allow them to be in certain areas or not allow them in the city and make the findings for that, or have a heightened public review so that the public is aware, knows what's going on, and prevents something like breast tech from happening. And that's the exact type of changes that the community have advocated for. And that's the kind of agency that we can be in the future with the adoption of the general plan and with the update of the zoning code, with the focus on the environmental justice, moving those issues forward through our environmental justice office that has just been recently formed. I hope that answers your question.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you.
Lori?
Más tener la mano alzada.
Oh, right here, is this good?
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, hello, my name is Dr. Loretta Bilas, and I've been a resident here in Santa Ana for 7 years now. And I'm glad to hear you say that your area is to be the champion for environmental justice. But one of the major concerns I think so many of us have is the building of condos or apartments, the density of the city, and the total lack of planning in terms of the structures, the environment. There's no greenery. And that's a major concern. Just because Santa Ana is sometimes viewed as a low-income city, to me is no excuse for the fact that there's just a total lack in the planning of greenery. So if we're talking about environmental justice, people have a right to live in a beautiful environment. So the concern is with the zoning and also the decision-making, that when architectural plans for building of condos or apartments or whatever, that there be some type of open spaces left where there can be some greenery or small plazas. Because right now there are areas that building is taking place and that is not happening. And it's kind of too late when the structures are already going up. So I'm glad to hear you say about zoning and being the champions for environmental justice, because a city has to reflect some type of beauty, and for the residents and the children especially. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Loretta, and I do not disagree with you. And I know that the council doesn't disagree with you, as they have raised the bar through the general plan update. We currently have very little park and open space as is. And you're right, the construction of development and housing is taking up, land However, these are land that have been dedicated to housing and commercial development and historically have been zoned for that type of use. It's a delicate balance between balancing creating housing for our community and open space. So the council recognized that, and through the zoning code update, as I mentioned to you, the council has raised the bar to 3 acre per thousand, meaning that we will be putting in place fees requirement, regulations, and development standards that will help to get us to 3 acre per thousand for new development that are coming online. For areas where we currently have parks now, the city council is also focusing on how to better utilize our existing open space and park, and ensuring that some of the space become multi-purpose, multi-use, and beautified and maintained, so that you can feel that you have a great community with great parks and great services. And that's something that is a part of that. In addition to that, private development, through the zoning code update, we will have to update the open space standards as well for private development to create open space within the development, so that there's a relief on pressure for public open space. So I do recognize that. Thank you for bringing up that issue. It's challenging, but we heard it, and the council has told us through the policy that we need to do better. And that's a part of what the general plan and the zoning code update will help us do.
Thank you. And I'm glad to hear that the council is looking to do better, but it's very difficult to do better when structures within the city have already gone up and there's no greenery. So obviously, and what I'm asking is some group has gone ahead and approved for structures to go up without looking for some type of environmental greenery, beautification of the property. So, and I'm just saying, looking down the future, it's very difficult, because what I'm hearing is we're going to raise the bar, but it's very difficult to raise the bar when people have not taken a look architecturally at the plans to ensure that there has been some open space left. I'm just, so I hope, please, we look towards your.
Absolutely. And I don't want to necessarily engage in a back and forth, but I just want to share that their existing regulations do have open space requirements, but I think it's obvious that it's not enough. So as part of the update, we will have to relook at those standards to see how we can incorporate more. So I just want to clarify, it's not that the existing standards don't address them. I believe by your testament, what you're seeing is that it's not enough. So, and thank you for recognizing that we have recognized that we need to do better as a community. So thank you.
Thank you. Sultana, who else has questions? Java? Who else? Are you? Okay, so we have.
Good evening. My name is Susana Sandoval, and I'm the co-chair for the Santa Ana Healthy Neighborhoods Alliance, and I'm also a resident for 30 plus years here in Santa Ana. And I'm really happy to hear you say that the city with environmental justice can do more. And you mentioned certain things. I think it is so paramount, and it would be so effective. You mentioned other agencies that monitor businesses and standards, but I think since the city is approving permits for businesses, new businesses, I think the city has to be really engaged in accountability of monitoring those standards on an annual basis, because our kids are walking by, going to and from school to many of these factories or companies that are putting lead in the soil. that are putting toxins in the air and in the water. So I think the city can be a champion in really looking how those permits are approved, because initially environmental studies, my understanding, are not done. But what are the standards that they're using? Because with all this technology, our world has changed. With all the technology, standards have changed. And I think it would be very effective for the city to say, we not only are going to depend on these other agencies to make sure that our companies are providing a safe environment for the business they're conducting, but we will be engaged in that also. And I think an annual basis would be very, very positive impact on really cleaning up the environment and what some of these companies are doing to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sandoval. Is it Ms. Sandoval?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. And I thought, when you're talking, I thought you read our general plan already, because that's exactly what it intends to do, is that we as staff, are being directed to make sure that we pay attention through our regulations, through our daily decision-making, to ensure that, these kind of decisions are made in the interest of environmental justice, and that we as a city are going to have to be a champion of all these issues to push our concerns to these agencies. So thank you so much for recognizing that.
Thank you. I have 4 people on for questions. We have a full agenda. I'm gonna just go through this 4 people now. I have Leonel next, and then Manny, Don Chava, and then Irma. Is that okay? I mean, we have for the sake of time, please.
Adolfo, you know what? My staff is there and they can provide with phone numbers, and anyone who had more questions beside our 4 folks can welcome to call me, and I will either meet with them or I can get, over Zoom, whatever. But, so don't worry, anyone who can't have asked their questions today, please give them their my phone number so they can contact me and I can follow up afterward. Okay.
Thank you for that. Okay, so Leonel.
Hello, Minh. So my question today for you, so I heard you talking about the Department for Environmental Justice. Did you say the recruitment for that was completed already, or do you have a?
We're nearing the process of completion.
Okay, do you have like an approximate timetable?
I'm hoping within the next several weeks to finalize.
Okay, thank you.
And I just want to share that, Margarita Macedonio in the room, she also is very interested in that position, and she is one of the candidates. So good luck, Margarita.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, I know that Minh needs to go, and I think that's why, and I know you have a full agenda, but I just wanted to thank Kim Fortin from UCI, because we had an opportunity to apply for the lead technical studies grant recently that HUD put forward. And so, we were able on a 2-week notice, we were able to connect with Kim, who connected us with Dr. Jun Woo, who's done the other studies. And so we've learned a lot, in the process on what it takes. But just to emphasize, it's important to have our own data, right, on like what the conditions are, coupled with the research that you all have done, right, that will give us a very strong case for getting more investment, more to remedy, to correct a lot of the wrongs, that have been done. So I just wanted to acknowledge, Kim, thank you for connecting us and for the work, that Madison Park has done. They've had, excellent retreats with a lot of the people that they're building into that. And also, man, just so you know, Joseph Iniguez is here, our informal intern that was referred to our office. He's actually here, and he's an intern for Madison Park too with their program. So anyway, just wanted to. Yeah. Okay, and then they have one more question, and then that's it. We'll move with the agenda.
Yeah, we're gonna give you the information. I'm sorry, I do apologize. Chava, si tiene alguna pregunta, le vamos a pasar el teléfono de Minh, o lo escribe, se lo pasa a Margarita, y ellos le pueden contestar la pregunta, porque tenemos que movernos adelante. Tenemos la agenda muy larga. Sí, okay. Manny, go ahead, and we're gonna do Manny, and then we can ask the questions through emails or telephone
So one
numbers.
more question.
Just one more question. Okay. Ok, vamos entonces, el que sigue sería Don Chava.
Don Chava.
Sorry, Irma. Pero después de mandar mensaje, Chava. Chava, antes de que empiece, Chava es uno de los residentes que ha trabajado ya desde mucho tiempo, mucho antes de que yo viniera aquí a la Asociación de Vecinos. Chava ya estaba involucrado. Entonces, y tiene muchos años aquí ya trabajando.
Señor, yo no hablo inglés. Yo soy Don Chava y lo que vengo a decir aquí es algo diferente a el programa que ustedes tienen. Es muy buen trabajo. Le agradezco personalmente lo que ha dicho y esperamos que se haga. Pero hay un problema que queremos que se solucione y casi nadie lo toma en cuenta. La ciudad está dando los permisos de parquear los carros en las calles con parking permit. Eso no se había mirado. Yo tengo 42 años viviendo en la misma área y nunca habíamos sucedido que hay que pagar por la calle que le pertenece a uno de tantos años viviendo en el mismo lugar. Estoy de acuerdo, porque hay mucho problema automovilístico. Ese es el número que la ciudad está haciendo a un lado. Todo lo de las construcciones de edificios está bien, pero hay que poner en cuenta ese problema nada más. Que le pongan más atención para que la gente viva tranquilo. Los vecindarios que no tenemos necesidad de ir a parar los carros a otros lados, de la Evergreen, de la Cira, se van a parar por la Occidental, por la Cypress, gente que renta por acá. Eso es todo lo que puedo decir y lo felicito porque hay que echarle ganas. Hemos visto que Santa Ana está para arriba, para arriba, para arriba. Muchos están agradecidos a las nuevas autoridades jóvenes con buenas ideas. Va a progresar y vamos para adelante. Gracias.
I can,
Is that his department?
it's not his department.
Okay,
So what
Chava.
he's bringing up in summary, Min,
Yeah.
Don Chava's bringing up something that Nabil would address, which is the neighborhood parking issues, permit parking, and just the quality of life, the impacts that it has on some neighborhoods. I guess the area where it would interface is if there's like construction, right? There's a project and the parking requirements, there may be some neighborhood impacts in that regard, but I think he's talking about like the neighborhoods that have permit parking and the streets adjacent that may not, where there's an overflow and it's affecting the quality of life. But Don Chava compliments the leadership, of the council and just being able to, make progress in other areas. And he congratulates you on a lot of the great work that you're doing as well.
Well, tell Mr. Chava, thank you so much for those kind words, and we will be sure to convey the issues he spoke about to Nabil Saba. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you inviting me here. Thank you for being here. Councilmember Penalosa, thank you for being here as well. Glad to see you be a part of this process. Thank you so much and have a great night.
Thank you, Min. Good night.
Thank you. The next. Thank you for your patience. I know it's I feel a little rusted, but we're gonna get there. The next one we have Santa Ana PD is gonna give us some public safety updates. We have can you introduce yourself and come and join us? Do you want to join us here? Please. Para rapidito, antes usualmente venía algún oficial de la policía a darnos un reporte de lo sucedido en el barrio y también para que los residentes vinieran a traer sus quejas, sugerencias, opiniones con la policía para poder trabajar en conjunto y que pueda haber un poco más de entendimiento con ellos y con los residentes, que ha sido históricamente ha sido uno de los problemas o de los cosas que han sucedido en la ciudad. Así que, go ahead.
So my name is Corporal Nicole Quijas. I'm assigned to the Southeast District where you all live. I think we've met before. We may have not met, but I've worked this particular area for a majority of my career. I lateraled here in 2004 from a different police department. So my heart is with the people of Santa Ana, but I'm very particular about the area that you all reside in. I spend, I think, more time here than I do at my own home. With that being said, let's see, that area, it encompasses everything south of Flower, south of First Street and east of Flower, all the way down to the south end of town. I specifically work Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday from 2 in the afternoon till 2:30 in the morning. But we have 3 different shifts for our officers. The first one is 6 in the morning till 5:30 to 6 at night. And then you have what I work 2 to 2:30. And then there's another group of officers that come on 6 at night till 6:30 in the morning. So even though I work during the week, we all communicate with each other and talk to each other with the guys and the girls on the weekends. I appreciate you. I'll back up a little bit. I appreciate you guys having us here at this meeting, because it really is refreshing for me to see everybody, to be able to sit down, look at you, see you face to face. Sometimes when we're in the streets, we're rushing to calls for service, or, you know, we're very busy. But I do encourage you, if we can, if we have time, to talk to us. Don't be afraid to take our time. That's what we're here for. We're here to serve you and be part of the community and hear your needs and wants for what's going on in your neighborhoods. I'm happy to see all the movies in the parks and the kids in the parks now, and it's nice for us to see that. I don't really have any specific updates. I can answer any questions if anybody has any questions. And if you don't want to speak about anything right now in front of everybody, or you think of something later, I do leave my email and my name in the back on a card. So feel free to get that and add it or hand it out to whoever, or throw it in the trash, whatever you want to do with it. What else did I make note of?
Can I say something?
Yeah, of course.
I just want to say thank you to the police department who invites all of our families to coffee with the cop. They really do enjoy it, and I have to tell you, I've seen a better relationship and more communication between the police and our community, and I'm not like you will agree, because they go like in full force. Like there's a big group of them that go from Madison Park to every coffee with the cop, and it's just a good chance to open up those lines of communication and to make sure you guys are hearing what's happening in our neighborhood, as well as we hear about what you guys are doing to kind of help us out. So we just want to say thank you for having us.
I appreciate that.
A
Yeah.
lot of my parents, so I can't go to them, always working here, you know, I'd love to go to coffee with the cop.
It's been years since I've been to coffee with the cop. When I was working and one of our special details, I think that's when it all first started. And I think I see some familiar faces. And I have to say, I've been to a lot of community meetings, and this one, you guys are very engaged, and I think that's awesome because there's strength in numbers. And I really like what she was speaking about, the condos and the interest that you have in a public safety aspect of it. When I like today, I was driving down First Street, and the buildings and the apartments and the condos that are going up, and I think, oh, more people to serve, and that's completely okay. But you know, we got to be able to accommodate that. So it's nice to speak about these things together and come up with the ideas of how to work together, because that's really what it's all about. Go ahead.
And one more thing that we really do appreciate when you have the Junior Cop Academy, the Parents Police Academy, because our parents get to go to the police station, they learn about their jobs and what they do. So then they're able to better, like you said, serve each other, right? So we understand what the job is. And so we appreciate those programs and any programs that you want to bring like that and any like advice or anything that you have for our children. And I have to just say, touch on one thing you said earlier about cleaning up our environment. This year, our school theme is making the world a little brighter, and brighter is number one, brighter as in more intelligent, brighter as in a happier place, but brighter as in cleaning up the world around us and taking responsibility for our community. And I think the best way to do it is all of us kind of working together. So I do appreciate that you have these programs that help our kids too, especially if they're looking for future careers in law enforcement.
Yeah, and a lot of our officers are from Santa Ana. Our own chief is from Santa Ana, and it's just, you all live here. I work here, so I appreciate, you guys accepting me here. But it's Santa Ana is its own, we're our own world. It's very unique, and I think it takes a lot to understand that. So it's good for the kids and parents to talk to us, because I think a big issue that we have when there's questions or comments or maybe some a little bit of apprehensiveness is we need to talk to each other, ask questions. When I walked in, we talked about an incident that's in the news right now, and 9 times out of 10, even though I'm in law enforcement or I wear this uniform, we think alike. So, but we wouldn't know that if we're not communicating with each other. So I think you have a question.
I just want to commend the police department for the PAL program. I personally went to tour it 2 times. And is one of the most amazing programs that really unites the parents, the children, and the police from a very positive aspect, from tutoring and counseling and sports and activities in such a positive environment that I would love to see it replicated throughout all our wards and our neighborhoods, especially in the high density that needs so much help. I was totally impressed. It's one of a kind that no other program, although as commendable as they are, my son was a Boy Scout. It's the only one where you have the police enforcement in such a positive role model that I just want to call that program very strong.
El Pastor, thank you. Yeah. Well, Pacific, what's the other neighborhood? Pacific, electric. Yeah, they were talking about what they're going to do with the old fire station. That was
Fire station would be ideal. Wake us up, station.
That's not to me though. So but it is nice getting to know the kids, and we tell the kids. I mean, pass on the word with the kids at school. Wave to us, talk to us. Some of them have, it's like I say, this is good for me to change a pace from being out there, because we're presented with police officers are, not always presented with the best things, right? We see a lot of the bad. And sometimes our children who live in this community, they see that bad too. And it's nice to be able to change the pace and come to each other on a good note instead of always on a bad note.
Coming up in council on the Tuesday of August the 2nd. So if anybody's interested, please speak up, write, call, show up, because I think it's one of the best solutions, not the only one, but one of the best solutions I've seen, where the positive aspect of our police officers that put their lives on the line for us, where the kids can see that from a very different perspective. And as they grow, they can understand that they're so human.
I agree with you, but there's also a different edge, to that. It's another side of the coin that also I think the police needs to work in this community, because there's 2 sides to that perspective.
Of course.
And then so I think that we can address the issue. So I think the first step is that you hear, so we thank you for that. One of the things that whoever was represented, the police department, used to talk about like stats for what's going on in the neighborhood. And I know that you're not prepared. I mean, we're just trying to come back to the normal, rhythm of things. But what is the thing? I remember in the past we used to have domestic violence. It was enormous. I mean, 75 calls and from month to month. There were, weapons, there were drug dealings. What's happening right now? What's the major crime and the misdemeanors that are happening in the neighborhood?
So particularly in this city, we do have a high rate of domestic violence. We have an even more higher rate of child abuse, unfortunately. I think in the county, we're probably the highest in child abuse. And I don't know if the dynamics, in this city, we have a lot of people living in one house, right? Maybe sometimes those houses it might be the mother, maybe the father, but then they rent, right? And we can't change that, but like the principal was saying, maybe in these meetings where we're talking to the parents about these types of things, bringing these to light of not leaving your children unattended with the people you rent with. We could get into that, right? That's a whole different thing, but domestic violence is still high. Child abuse is still high, sexual abuse with children. We still have our shootings right now. In the last couple of weeks, I haven't responded to one in a couple of weeks. Now, that's not to say the weeks prior to that, I responded to 3 in a week, right? But what I'll do for you on that is, are these gonna be monthly? Are we gonna start getting back
do
monthly?
it monthly, if not every 2 months.
Okay.
But I can communicate with you or say, and we can make a request for the things that we want to see. And also the different type of programs that you can offer to the community so they can know about it and who to call in case they want to get involved.
Absolutely.
Those are the things that we want to try to do here.
So I think what we'll do next time, if you're interested in that, is we can pull our statistics and our crime analysis can get together for the month, whatever you guys are requesting, 1 month, 2 months, the types of calls, the areas they're in, your area specific, they can do all that. I just have to request it.
Yeah, thank you. That was very helpful. And I have another question. That's important, but to me it is important.
Sure.
Are they donuts with the coffee or just?
I don't know. I hope so. I mean, what's wrong with the donut, right? I try to stay away from it, but yeah, so there's that. And then also one more thing. Yeah, definitely the programs are civilian ladies and stuff we have there. They're all about that. But I've been to another meeting and I threw it out there. And I got one email, but the individual never followed up. My team and the team of the officers in Southeast, we do like to adopt families around Christmas. Just something that we do, just us as a team, as police officers, specifically in our area or in your neighborhoods. So if you or somebody knows of anybody, for example, a couple of years back, we had a family who lost their father in an accident and they were going through some hard times. So we adopt them for Christmas. They had a lot of little kids. That's something that if you can get me that information, we have a lot of resources, not just with our own officers, but people that we do outreach with. And if you know of anybody, please email me. So we could contact you and maybe work together of maybe adopting that family for Christmas or Thanksgiving. Maybe with working at the school, you probably have some people.
We do it, working, right now we have a family who's faced a great tragedy. It needs lots of help and support there. We might send you their name now and maybe not wait till Christmas. But if there's
Yes.
other resources that you know, just to help support them.
Yeah, absolutely. My email is on a card back there. He has it.
I can put you in communication with her, so.
Yeah, but please definitely, like I said, I've been to a couple of these meetings, I've thrown it out and no one's really taken me up on it. So we do have those resources available and we would like to help people in our community that way if we can.
Officer, I didn't see your card back.
Yeah, I think someone might have taken it.
Oh, did they take it? Okay, I'll leave it again. I'll write it on a piece of paper and leave it back there for you guys.
Yeah, we can send it to you also. I mean, we have some of your emails. We can do that. Leonel has a question and then we can move on.
Yeah, kind of related to what you said right now. Like, I know you said adopting a family. Like, but do y'all adopt an org?
Adopt a what?
An organization.
How so?
So we're trying to bring back our walkathon.
Okay,
So we
I
can
heard
serve
that.
to the community.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think we've always struggled with is finding like resources to have PD out here or somebody to help lead the walk and keep people safe while we do the walk. Is that something PD can help facilitate with?
So let me ask you this, is the walk gonna be like throughout the neighborhood? Is it around the park or what are we
it's like,
thinking here?
Usually like we walk from the park to the bike trail.
Oh.
And then to the Pacific Electric Park
Uh-huh.
and then back the same way.
Cool, just a walk, not running, okay. Yeah, definitely email me. We have certain people in our department who deal with that. And then also if you need traffic control. So is that organization, is that through your Madison Park organization? or-
It's through the, yeah.
And then we're gonna like raise money for the, or is it?
We, it's part of the walkathon, community resource fair and cultural festival that we used to have annually. So we had two events. We had that one and we had the Christmas Posada that we have here in this space. And we're trying to bring those back.
Yeah, I think that would be great to get the officers involved. Like I said, it's always nice to take us out of the go, call to call and racing around town to assign us, hey, we're gonna take 4 hours to go come visit the people in a different way. But email me and whatever you guys need, if we can make it happen, I think that's a great idea.
Thank you.
I mean, I would love to, I try to drive the trails as much as I can, because I know there's a lot of complaints. And I mean, you were right, I think you were saying earlier, there are a lot of people on the trails right now in the summer. It's so nice to see. So,
Yeah, I remember, so like our last one, 2019, I remember Officer Calles. He was here. I don't know if he's
Yeah.
still in the department
Yes.
or not, so.
yeah,
Yeah, so.
yeah, for sure. Definitely get a hold of me. Is there anything else I didn't cover, or does anybody have any questions?
Like one more thing, I've only been in Madison Park now just under a year, and is Madison Park actually part of the school zone? Or is that not part of the school zone?
No, they have a
We have a
joint
joint
use.
use agreement, so like this part can be used after school, like the baseball diamond and all that, but during the day, it's completely separated.
Because like, I've been here about less than a year, and I want to start my family here, but when I hear about the air quality stuff, and then just, I just drive by and I just see what's going on at the park here, and I know you guys' hands are kind of tied as a police force of people doing drugs, and like, I see them just literally just running the drugs back and forth,
Yeah.
like the Orange Street over here, but if Madison Park was part of the school zone, then that way, if they actually got arrested,
That would be
things could actually happen to them, instead of just getting let back out the same day.
School police also comes out and helps us when anything is happening over there. Both SAPD works with our school police, so.
Yeah.
Anytime
Yeah, but it
these
doesn't-
things happen, we
It
call.
doesn't matter, the cops can't do anything about it. They literally just get picked up, moved to the other side of town, they come right back the same day.
So are we talking about drug use, or are we talking about the transients?
Drug use, drug sales, and the transients, because I see them behind the Dollar Tree, there's a little cubby.
Mhm.
I mean, the cops went over there, they scattered the
Oh,
rats,
yeah.
and then you got the guy in the electric wheelchair, just bring drugs back and forth, back and forth. Like, I watch him, I'm like, dude, this is like, I want to like pop his tires, but I'd be like the bad person for popping his tires. But here's my advice, and people take it for what you want, because I've heard different, like, "Ugh, what is that gonna do," or whatever. Here's my advice. Please call. Okay, now, can I guarantee that we're gonna be out there within 10 minutes? No, I cannot, because we do prioritize our I know
calls
you guys are a
for
super
those.
busy city, and I know it's not like.
It
but I'm
it
just
is,
saying
but
that was part of the school zone. And
Yeah.
they got busted there. That's a way different crime.
But when they changed the laws for possession of methamphetamine, heroin, any hard drugs, it's now a misdemeanor. What does that mean? It's a ticket. What does that mean? That we arrest them, we take them to jail, and they're out the next hour. Is it solve the problem right then and there? Yes, and that's fine, we can do that. But my point is when I go and pull, so keep this in mind, when in a month or 2 months, when I come back and we pull the statistics, if you guys aren't calling, it will not be on the statistics. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we're not documenting that the guy in the wheelchair is selling drugs, so what happens when you guys call?
I'm watching them just move the drugs.
Right.
And the guys selling at the park, and it's like, I'm watching this happen. I'm just like, man,
And see, because you're here, right? You live here, you see it. I wish I could say we could be here all the time, but we just can't.
No, and I
So
get
we
that.
need you guys. We need you guys to get involved and call. It doesn't upset us whatsoever. If I lived here, I'd be calling all the time. Where I live in my city, if I have to call, I call. That's what we're here for. So like I said, so then we start generating those complaints, right? And then it comes up in the statistics. So I can go, hey, look, there's a problem here.
Yeah.
And then we take it above and beyond my pay grade, right?
well, right off of Orange, or behind the Dollar Tree, and there's that little cubby. They're living in there and they're freaking, man, that's like the ones.
Are we talking about all the way up to Bishop or which dollar?
The dollar market?
Right here on Main.
Oh,
Just right here.
yeah.
Dollar General.
The Dollar General. Yeah, and they have a security guard with that. And you're talking about behind the auto, the
Is it
auto.
Oaks? Is it Oaks?
Cypress.
Or
Near
Cypress
Cypress
Street?
and
Yes.
There's that little cubby right there and they just all hang out.
Yeah, I drove by there like 2 days ago and there's like 5 people in there.
And there's like cars that come up and just sell to them and then the guy in the wheelchair will literally bring drugs from there over to over to Madison Park. And then he'll and then he'll go to the bike trail and tell the guys like, oh, the cops are over here, don't go over there. Like, I'm just like watching this guy. I'm like, are you serious? He's like.
And our children are out. I mean, we giggle about it, we laugh or whatever, but at the end of the day, our children are out there playing on the trails
That's
and at
thing
the
too,
parks.
like,
And
you guys are doing all this work for.
Yeah, but like she said, call. I do it. I call all the time or email them. We also have, my Santa Ana
The
app. Great. Use it. It's getting better. At the beginning, it was kind of like a little difficult to navigate it, but it's better. So use it. I think most of us do have a cell phone. Just send the message to the city. Yeah, and there's a lot of different.
Pictures.
Yeah.
yeah,
Pictures
we
and
even officers use that app. Believe it or not, I've used it sometimes for them to come pick up trash
Right.
and graffiti and all that kind of
I
stuff.
use it all the time for graffiti and other stuff, especially bike trail. I ride my bike, so I just send in the messages all the time. We have one more question for the officer from Cecilia, and then we can move on, please.
Not a question.
Oh.
I'm just want to ask the Santa Ana Police Department to make rounds, especially in the mornings, because I want to show you the picture. This is when the kids go to school. There is no space where we walk. We have to cross the train tracks.
That's on.
Yeah, right here.
on
on
Edinger.
Edinger. Yeah, I walk my daughter, she's a special ed, but just imagine the other students. Yeah, so I spoke with the sheriff last time and he says that they're trying to work with police department, Santa Ana Police Department, because they need to do something. This is twice a week. I'm walking my daughter, but what about the others?
Everybody, yeah.
It's really bad over there.
Can you email me that photo?
Sure, I have videos, I have photos, I have
Send
everything.
it.
Also, I have everything also from plastic too. You know, when they make noisy sounds, I take videos, I post on Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, I have kids, right? It's unacceptable. So the actual train tracks are Pacific Railroad.
Yeah.
You probably already know
Yeah.
this.
you know,
But if
everybody
it's
told
on
me
the
that.
sidewalk, that's ours.
Yeah, because
So-
he told me, because I usually say, oh, thank you, Santa Ana City for cleaning the train tracks. And he told me, no, we're doing that.
Yeah, it's a big issue between our railroads and then.
But I think in the
ours.
morning, when the kids start school, that'll be better if they just make, rounds. And especially on the train tracks, because not only right here, it's McFadden,
Yes.
also Chestnut. It's really bad.
Yeah, that kind of looks like. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes.
We're gonna need to move on because we are running a little bit behind already.
Thank you very much.
So our meeting is supposed to be 6 to 7:30.
Thank you to officer that came to.
Thank you for having me.
And I don't think we're gonna be able to finish up the agenda, but I wanted to sort of give a couple of minutes to Jenny, who is our health equity coordinator, to tell us a little bit about a program that we have. So Jenny.
So we have this flyer in the back as well. We have a food voucher program going on. It's for families in one specific area of Santa Ana. So that covers Pacific Electric Park, Cornerstone Village, and MPNA, and also a little bit of Delphi neighborhood.
Cedar Evergreen.
Cedar Evergreen, yes.
And Lion.
And Lion. So it's basically to help struggling families because of COVID. So we know that a lot of people have lost their jobs, their wages have been lowered, their hours have been reduced at work, and a lot of people are trying to stay or hospitalized. So there's a lot of medical bills, a lot of expenses that are people are burdened to a lot of families in the area. So we just want to help out
If they qualify, we are able to get them a $300 gift card to Northgate Market, so that it helps them with their groceries. So please spread the word about this program. Again, the flyers in the back, okay? Por favor, de agarrar un flyer que anda allá atrás. Es un del programa de vales de comida de SAPD. Es para ayudar a la gente que ha sido afectada por COVID. Como sabemos, COVID nos ha afectado de maneras como perder el trabajo, muchas familias han sido afectadas, o han sido desalojadas por no pagar la renta. Entonces, nosotros tratamos de ayudar a la comunidad. Si califican para el programa, le podemos dar una tarjeta de $300 para la noche para que le ayuden a comprar su comida. Entonces, por favor, díganle a sus vecinos que sobre este programa, y otra vez el volante está allá atrás en la mesa.
And they really have helped out a lot of families with this. And so anyone you know that's affected by COVID, please call or have them call. You can give them the flyer.
So hay un mapa acá atrás, there's a map in the back, but we able to work a little bit with the surrounding communities. I'm just looking, our friends from Voucher Square, Henninger Park. But we do have some of those neighborhoods and we can work with the surrounding community, but our emphasis is this map, which is Madison Park, Cedar Evergreen, Delhi, Lion Street in Pacific Park, and Main Street, or Cornerstone Village. So briefly, we just wanted to introduce to you our former community organizer, who is now our environmental justice manager, the recipient of our $100 scholarship.
Hi, thanks everyone. Lifelong resident of the Madison neighborhood. I actually came to Madison Elementary. So for those of you that don't know me, so I've been working as an official employee for the nonprofit since 2019, so a little over 3 years. And in those 3.5 years, I've been working with the community, with Madison, with UCI to help develop what is now Orange County's first community air monitoring network. So what that is we have a group of about 30 residents from the neighborhood, 10 of them high school, 20 of them adult residents throughout the various neighborhoods here in the southeast side of Santa Ana that host air monitors either in their home or they help us monitor throughout the community on various days of the year. Se lo voy a decir en español. Mi nombre es Leonel Flores. Soy un residente aquí del Parque de Madison por toda mi vida. Yo vine aquí a la escuela Madison también. Tengo 3 años y medio trabajando con la organización oficialmente y en esos 3 años y medio pudimos establecer el primer sistema comunitario de monitoreo del aire. Entonces, este grupo es una colaboración con un grupo de 30 residentes que son estudiantes de la prepa y también residentes adultos de la comunidad, también colaborando con la Escuela Madison y con la Universidad de UCI. Y entonces lo que esos residentes hacen, algunos de ellos tienen monitores en su casa para monitorear la calidad del aire y otros nos ayudan a monitorear el aire en diferentes días del año en diferentes zonas de la ciudad. So to add on to that, for the last couple of years, we've been working with the city to help include policies that will better these living conditions, environmental conditions for the residents in our community. Some of the policies that we were able to accomplish, one of them that Minh talked about was the office that's going to be fully staffed for environmental justice to outreach directly to the residents on that topic. But on top of that, we were able to get a policy for quarterly forums to get updates from the different regulatory agencies in the area. And we're still also working, trying to get buffer zones and more distance between our schools, our neighborhoods, and the industry that's on the other side of the railroad tracks. Entonces, también durante los últimos años hemos estado trabajando con la ciudad de Santana para tratar de incluir pólizas que mejoren la calidad de vida y el medio ambiente aquí en la comunidad. Una de las pólizas que fue un gran logro fue la creación de la Oficina de Justicia Ambiental, de lo que habló el señor Minh hace un rato, que va a tener un empleado de la ciudad que esté manejando las relaciones con la comunidad y las necesidades que tengan sobre mejorando el medio ambiente. Aparte de eso, pudimos implementar una póliza para que la ciudad y las diferentes agencias de regulación del aire nos puedan traer información a la ciudad y la comunidad, creo que cada 3 meses. Y también al igual seguimos trabajando para que pongan zonas de amortiguamiento entre las escuelas y las casas y todas las industrias que están al otro lado de las vías del tren, porque ahorita no hay ninguna protección para las personas en los apartamentos, para las escuelas, solo es una reja y luego al otro lado están pegadas las industrias que tienen permisos para emitir químicos al aire. So what I was saying is that
with the air quality testing, have you guys been able to like pinpoint where like the mass polluters are over there? Like what businesses are actually causing the bad PPM air quality?
Yes and no. So I'll explain a little more. So one of the things we do for our air monitoring is we call it our toxic tour days, where we go out into the community and we monitor the air. So we have 2 objectives those days. The first objective is to compare and contrast the air quality in 5 different zones. 4 of those 5 maps overlap the industrial corridor, and the 5th one overlaps where the 5 and the 55 cross. So with that map, we have residents either walk the route or drive the route multiple times and 3 different shifts. So in the morning when everyone's going to work, during their lunch break, and then in the afternoon when everyone goes back home. So we do it 3 times a day, like I said, to compare and contrast over a certain zone. The second objective is to try to determine where those hotspots or where those sources of contamination are coming from. So we have a map of the entire city with different points across the map, and then we have residents either walk to those points and monitor the air for 10 minutes, move on to the next point, and we split it up amongst the residents. Along the edges, we have residents drive out there and do the same thing, monitor for 10 minutes. So in those 10 minutes, if we see a spike in the monitoring or what's coming in, we know there's a hot spot in that general vicinity. We haven't been able to pinpoint an exact facility per se, since this is a pilot study, but we do have a couple of areas that did show, that consistently showed higher readings than in other areas. So lo que está diciendo es que teníamos estos días que llamábamos los tours tóxicos, donde monitoreábamos el aire. Este fue como un piloto que empezamos a hacer. Monitoreamos una vez al mes y teníamos 2 objetivos. El primer objetivo, teníamos 5 diferentes mapas. 4 de los mapas cruzaban diferentes zonas de lo que nosotros nombramos el corredor industrial. El 5º mapa pasaba donde cruza el Freeway 5 y el 55. Y eso era para comparar cómo está la calidad del aire en diferentes zonas de nuestros vecindarios. El segundo objetivo, tenemos un mapa de toda la ciudad con diferentes números y mandamos a voluntarios del comité a los diferentes números para que monitorearan el aire allí por 10 minutos y luego de ahí se movían al siguiente punto y así nos dividíamos. Algunos caminaban a los puntos, otros manejaban y básicamente eso era para identificar si había fuentes de contaminación en esa área. Entonces, si en esos 10 minutos en el monitor se miraba que había mucha contaminación, entonces eso nos indica que puede haber una fuente de contaminación en esa área. Entonces, ahorita no hemos podido identificar específicamente si es una compañía o es un carro, lo que sea, pero sí tenemos puntos en ese mapa que constantemente tuvieron niveles altos de contaminación durante los 4 días. Entonces, eso era nuestro programa piloto y ahorita estamos preparándonos para reiniciar. Tuvimos un tiempo de como de descanso mientras aplicábamos para más fondos para seguir, porque cada residente que es parte del comité recibe un estipendio. Y entonces la semana que viene, el 2 de agosto, aquí vamos a estar otra vez para la primera junta y orientación para las personas que estén interesadas en ser parte de esa comité. So like I said, that was our pilot program, what we did with the air monitoring, but we're getting ready to restart again. We're actually going to be here on next Tuesday, August 2nd at 6 o'clock with our committee of residents that are returning, with new residents that are interested in being part of this committee and the air monitoring network, and also to invite y'all, or if you know of anyone that would be interested, feel free to join us. It's going to be our first meeting as we get ready to move forward and start looking into basically carrying out more monitoring days, refining our study, and trying to figure out where these sources of contamination are coming from.
What time?
Was that? Yeah. Additionally, so we have a research internship with the Fortins from UCI and the EcoGov Lab with some of our youth and adults, but also there's a high school internship that they're going to be running, and they're going to help us look into like the history of environmental justice throughout the country, how environmental justice policies have been implemented to help communities, and then what we can do here in the neighborhood, right? So entonces también tenemos dos internados con los profesores de UCI, uno que son los residentes que están regresando del comité de high school y los adultos, y otro es solo para estudiantes nuevos de la high school, y van a estar viendo cómo las pólizas de justicia ambiental en todo el país han ayudado a mejorar sus comunidades, y cómo nosotros los podemos usar en nuestra comunidad para mejorar la calidad del aire. Y creo que también va a involucrar cómo dice governance en Spanish. Como la gobernanza así de la comunidad y cómo pues abogar para la comunidad e ir a platicar o luchar por las necesidades de la comunidad. So, eso va a ser el enfoque del internado.
Tengo una sugerencia, a lo mejor mi sugerencia va a ser un poco ridículo para varios, pero es por la salud. Por la salud, estamos hablando de ambiente, del aire. Entonces, mi sugerencia es, ¿por qué no proponemos algo a la ciudad para la prohibición de los cohetes o los fuegos artificiales? Porque afecta bastante a los pulmones. El 4 de julio, en yo, en lugar de estar viendo los cohetes, estuve encerrado con ¿cómo se llaman los aparatos para eliminar el aire? Porque realmente otros se divertían y yo dije, bueno, mientras otros están divirtiendo, yo estoy encerrado, porque el aire era demasiado, y si el aire es demasiado contaminoso, yo tengo problemas de mis pulmones a causa del COVID, pero para el 4 de julio fue pésimo para mí. Esa es una sugerencia que tendría yo para que lo llevaríamos o lo llevaran a la ciudad.
Gracias, Pablo. Si quieren, puedo explicar un poquito más porque gracias que mencionó eso porque también estamos trabajando en eso. basically he said he had a suggestion that why can't we as a community get together and fight for the ban of fireworks, because on the 4th of July, since he has lingering health issues due to all the fireworks, he had to lock himself inside instead of being outside with his family. So it's like if there's anything that we can do with that. Entonces, lo que hicimos nosotros con los monitores que tenemos, nos pusimos a monitorear el aire, no nomás el 4 de julio, pero unas semanas antes y también 2 semanas después del 4 de julio. So apenas acabamos de terminar el monitoreo este viernes pasado. So ahorita apenas estamos recolectando los datos queremos enseñarle a la ciudad cómo se ve el aire en un día normal y luego cómo se ve el 4 de julio. Ahorita, como así ¿cómo se dice? Que lo revisaron los datos del 4 de julio, así bien rápido, es muy obvio que está muy contaminado el aire ese día. Pero otra cosa que tal vez les pueda enseñar el martes si vienen, ese red que tenemos, son 2 tipos. Un monitor es móvil. Let me see. Vivian, do you mind holding one of the monitors? Entonces, esos son los monitores que usamos para hacer esto del 4 de julio. So these are the monitors we use for the 4th of July. We place one inside the home and one outside the home in various spots across the city, as well as in Centennial Park. So thank you to Margarita and Frank for helping us get that connection over there. Entonces, pusimos esos monitores. Esos son los monitores móviles que tenemos, que pusimos en varias partes de la ciudad para ver cómo se mira el aire dentro de la casa y fuera de la casa durante el 4 de julio, pero también por decir un día normal como hoy. Y eso es lo que vamos a empezar a analizar. So those monitors, wait, did I say that already? Did we put them inside and outside?
Yeah.
Okay. And then apart from those monitors, we have some fixed monitors that go outside the home and stay in place. Those run 24/7, and all that data is uploaded to the internet. So it's accessible to anybody. And they're called Purple Air Monitors. If you go to purpleairmonitors.com, you could see the map on your phone or on your computer, wherever you are. Entonces, aparte de estos monitores móviles, tenemos unos monitores fijos. Entonces, estos son los móviles. Tenemos otros monitores fijos que son el tamaño como de una taza de café. Y ahorita tenemos 11 en la ciudad que corren así, como al extento del corredor industrial, pero compramos 15 más y queremos localizarlos ya en el resto de la ciudad de Santana. Y esos siempre están ahí, siempre están monitoreando. Y esa información lo pueden encontrar por internet. Lo pueden encontrar en su teléfono, en su computadora. La página se llama purpleairmonitors.com y si buscan el mapa a cualquier hora del día, pueden ver cómo está la calidad del aire. Deja ver si los puedo enseñar. Pero la razón que digo, la razón que digo tal vez para la semana que viene siguiente, ese día del 4 de julio, yo y otros profesores que trabajan con nosotros estuvimos tomando fotos de ese mapa, como screenshots. Purple Air. Yeah, if you want to still look.
I have a screenshot at 6:05 a.m. July 2nd, and I can give you the number.
Okay.
Yeah, Susana, and here's my data. I think you need to follow up with that.
So mira, este es ahorita. So ahorita está más o menos bien, no está tan mal. So queremos estar en lo más verde, ya un poquito más clarito. Ese día, del 55 para acá arriba, todo estaba rojo, morado, que es lo peor. So ahorita te está diciendo que hay 30 partículas en el aire, 35, 16, 40. Ese día estaba leyendo más de 300 partículas en el aire cada 10 minutos. Y no nomás fue por una hora, fue por casi toda la noche.
Eso era 4 de julio.
El 4 de julio. So that night on these monitors right now, it's showing you, it's picking up 30 particles, 35, right there, 16, every 10 minutes. On 4th of July, from the 55 up this way, it was all dark red and purple, which is the worst. And it was reading measures of 300 and higher. 300 particles were being picked up every 10 minutes in those in the purple air monitors, the ones that are stationary. Pero la otra cosa que están hablando ahorita de prohibir los cohetes, para la semana que viene, si vienen, les voy a enseñar uno de los screenshots que tomamos. Pueden ver la diferencia entre Santana y Irvine. So aquí está el 55, lo que nos divide. De este lado, como digo, todo estaba morado y Irvine estaba todo verde, tal vez poquito amarillo. Y la diferencia entre Santana y Irvine es que en Santana sí permiten los cohetes y en Irvine no.
Sí, hablando, eso es muy importante porque nosotros, Santa Ana Healthy Neighborhood Alliance y también Adolfo y Majares y otros presidentes, trabajamos más de 9 meses con estadísticos y juntas individuales con los City Council members. Y casi pensamos que íbamos a lograr que van a prohibir todos los cohetes, pero desgraciadamente no salió así. Entonces, nuestro pensamiento es cuando hay elecciones, tenemos una mesa de City Council nuevo. Vamos a seguir la lucha para prohibir todos los cohetes, because legal and illegal, it's all toxic. None of it is good. And we work a lot of time and effort and research and data, mucha investigación que hicimos. And our wonderful professors from UCI mentioned that you do political research also. If you can give us any tips on working with the new city council, we don't know who's going to end up in those seats, but we are going to go back y seguimos con la lucha. And with the data that you've collected is very, very important.
Yeah, so
And
just
it
to,
stays in the air, because I took a screenshot on July 5th at 6:05 a.m. and particles per thousand was 223. So it doesn't, yeah, that was it. Because I did it, right now it's 34 or 39 and healthy and normal. That was extremely hazardous, and it says this is from the AQMD.
yeah.
You can have the one you have in your iPhone, and it was, I woke up and that was the first thing I did a screenshot, 223 at 6:05 a.m. the next day. So we breathed for a long time, all of those particles.
Yeah, so again, for those, just to put it in English, so what I want to show you next week, if you come to the meeting, is that there was a clear delineation between Santa Ana and Irvine, where Santa Ana, like I said, was all red and purple, and Irvine was still pretty similar to this, maybe a few yellows, but it was still mostly green. But the clear difference between Santa Ana and Irvine on 4th of July is that Santa Ana allows fireworks and the city of Irvine doesn't. And one of the researchers from UCI actually pointed that out. So that's something I think that would serve as an argument that we can use moving forward with this issue. And then also building on what Susanna said, elections matter and who you vote for. I want to kind of give a little response to Lorraine. Lori, okay. When she started talking about like all this construction and lack of green space and things like that. So in 2020, I don't know if you knew this, before this new city council came in, they reduced the in lieu fees for developers. Basically what those fees are is if they don't have a certain amount of affordable housing, they pay a fee for every square foot. So it used to be $15 for every square foot, and they reduced it from $15 to $5. So how does that relate to her question with green space? Developers are trying to maximize their profits, right? So when they reduce that fee, instead of building affordable housing or green space that they need, they just paid the $5 fee and started building these big buildings with just apartments everywhere and no green space or affordable housing. So that vote was I think the only people that voted against lowering the fees were Mayor Sarmiento and Councilmember Mendoza. All the other 5 council members that were on there voted to lower those fees. So what did that lead to? The situation we have now. Now in April of this year, the city council voted to raise it back to 15. So either they pay, so the city can use that money to either create green space or more affordable housing somewhere else, or they integrate it into their buildings. And this time around, it only passed a vote of 4-3. And if y'all want to read up on who voted on which sides, y'all can look that up, you know. But it's very important we pay attention to who we vote for, because then things like this happen in our community. So I just wanted to throw that in there related to hers, because there is a lack of green space. And also all these buildings and building out the city is contributing not only like to the poor air quality, but the, you know, the heat in the city. The city's only gonna keep getting hotter. One of the suggestions I made when we were working on the policies, but it didn't get implemented, was to like incorporate green rooftops on these new construction buildings. That's something London or Great Britain, the country, did. So when the Industrial Revolution happened, they were one of the most toxic cities for air quality. And over the centuries, I guess you could say, that's one of the approaches they used to help include more greenery into their environment and help improve that air quality. So that was one of the suggestions I made, but you know, we have to be creative as a community, but also be aware of who we're voting for and hold them accountable for what they're doing. So I just wanted to throw that little bit of information out there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any